Hey, it's Ruby. Welcome back to my channel. I've been trying to film this video for the past 2 hours and there is so much noise. It sounds like construction, but honestly, I don't think it is. I think it's just my upstairs neighbor because this has been happening for months now. And it happens all throughout the day, and then it happens even on weekends, even on Sundays. So I don't think it's construction. I think my neighbor, I don't know what the heck they're doing. They're always so loud. So we're just gonna have to ignore them and push through because I've been waiting for 2 hours and they don't stop. So hopefully I can cut the video when they're being loud, but if I'm talking, I'm not gonna cut it. So yeah, but we have the February wrap up. I have been reading so many books in February, so just not just February, like the year. It's been insane. And last year was my first full year of reading, so I didn't know how much I was gonna read. I didn't really go out like with a set goal in mind. I just put one on Goodreads because it asked you for one, and I put 100 books because I figured that seems reasonable. Considering I have all the time in the world to read, I just felt like that was pretty reasonable. I read 134 books last year, and this year I've just been reading even more, which is crazy. Keep in mind, I have a lot of time to read. From the minute I wake up to the minute I go to sleep, I am able to read. All I have to do is like household chores and then take care of my 4-year-old miniature schnauzer Butters, and that's it. I'm very grateful for the time I have to read. I would love a full-time job, but I need remote work only, and it's just so hard to find. At least for me, I haven't been able to find something here in Maryland, so kind of sucks. But I'm making the most with the time I have right now, and this is time that I did not have. Like when I was in Texas, I was working so much. Literally had to work after hours, even though I wasn't getting paid, just to keep up with my workload. It was insane. But my husband, was going to school, and I was like the sole income provider, and it was just, a lot to keep up with. So I'm grateful for this time that I have, and hopefully I'll be able to get a job soon because I want one, but it hasn't happened. Anyway, in the month of February, in a 28-day month, I read 22 books, which is insane. I know, but I don't know. I don't go out ever thinking like, oh, this month I'm gonna read 15 books, or this month I'm trying for 20 books. I just read, and whatever happens happens. But I do think that because I film and like I post reading vlogs for you, it really speeds things up for me because I'm like, oh, I need to post in like 3 days, let me get to it. So yeah, I did read quite a bit of books, but I had a good month. So I read the 22 books. I had an average star rating of 4.11, and I had 5-star reads, which is crazy. It was so good. And then I feel like there's a lot of different colors in the genres, so it was just a good time. But let's go through them. Let's talk about them quickly. We're going to start off with the lowest rated to the highest rated. I'm not going to talk too much about books that have been in reading vlogs and stuff. I will link every single vlog up in a card and down below in the description so that you can watch them if you want to. Starting off with the 2 stars, I only had one. I did not have any 1 stars, which is amazing. I never want 1 stars, but The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. This was... it was just okay. I just didn't love it. This is a spin-off book, spin-off duology from the Cruel Prince trilogy, which I actually did really like. But in this, Oak and Ren, I just didn't care about the main characters. I just really did not. And then the plot, also didn't care about it. There was just really nothing that caught my eye in this duology, which is unfortunate, but I did unhaul it. And I think I'm going to do an unhaul video because I have unhauled so many books, and I'm going to continue to unhaul a ton of books because I'm moving in July, so I'm really making it a point to go through my physical TBR because I know that there's a lot of books on my shelves that I'm probably not going to love, and I'm starting a new series to tackle those books, the ones that I just feel like I'm not going to love. Why would I have those books on my shelves? Because when I first started getting into reading again as an adult, I started just buying books left and right so that I could read them, and then I started learning what my taste was, and a lot of these just got left behind. So I do want to give them a shot, but there are some that I just don't think I'm gonna love. So that was it for the 2 stars. That was a 2.5 star rating for me. Moving on to the 3-star reads. First up at 3 stars, we have Runaway Love by Melanie Harlow. This was small town romance, single dad needs a nanny trope. And it was really cute, but it was nothing super special. It was also super like unrealistic sometimes. Like, I don't know. I just thought this was like goofy, silly, but I had a good time, gave it 3 stars. And this did remind me of the Eden series in the sense that we are following siblings. Like, every sibling gets a book and they find love. But I do think the Eden series is better, even though I've only read 2 books of that. Definitely better than this one, so just keep that in mind. But if you've read the Eden series and you want something that's similar to that, try this one out, because all the books are available on Kindle Unlimited, so you can read it like that too. Next up, we have Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli, which was book 2 and the conclusion to the Crimson Moth duology. I really liked book 1, Heartless Hunter. This one I didn't love so much. I ended up giving this one 3.25 stars. I just feel like the pacing was very inconsistent. And I didn't love their love in this one like I did in the first one. I don't know. I just feel like the things that I loved from the first book didn't translate into this one. And I just was kind of underwhelmed with the plot in general in this book. That being said, 3.25 stars for this. Not bad. I do think that I will be rereading Heartless Hunter in the future. But I'm probably not going to run out to reread this one, if I'm being honest. However, if you like witches, I feel like you should check it out because it's just a duology and their magic system's pretty cool. Like, they have to use blood in order to cast spells, and the ways that they achieve that, like the means to the blood, is sometimes kind of cool, kind of like ew, but interesting, unique. So I did like that one. And then the rest of them, I don't think I own them. I have been making it a point to use Everend and Libby to read, especially new release books or books that are newer, to read them before I go out and buy them. I just really want to make sure that I like these books before I buy them, because I don't have just all the money in the world to be buying books left and right. So I've just really been using these apps, especially Everend, because, which, not sponsored, although I have worked with them in the past, and I do think that my link is still available. I will link it down below to get like a 30-day trial for free. You get 3 credits. Like Audible, you just get 1, but Everend you get 3, and you can do audiobooks, ebooks, podcasts, whatever you want. But I really like it because no matter the book, like, it's probably there. And I can listen to my 3 books immediately or read them through ebook immediately. Whereas Libby, sometimes I have to wait months. But yeah, I'm continuing to use Everend, so definitely check them out. Like I said, not sponsored, but I just really like it. Anyway, I listened to these on audio. Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams, which is book 3 in the When in Rome series. When in Rome was my least favorite. Book 2, Practice Makes Perfect, was my favorite. And then this one's in the middle. The thing that I found unique and interesting about this is that the FMC and the MMC are like the same person. Just one's a guy, one's a girl. Usually with these rivals to lovers or enemies to lovers type of books, they're opposites, right? And it's like opposites attract, but no, these two are like the same person, and that's why they're always butting heads. And I just found that really cool because they always butt heads and they have a lot of banter. So if you like banter, you'll probably like this one. I thought it was okay. I gave it 3.25 stars, but I definitely don't regret reading it. And then we have Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. I gave it 3.5 stars, but I probably should have given it 3 stars. If I'm being honest, I just didn't love it. And it wasn't because of the spice. I know a lot of the discourse on TikTok was because of the spice. That wasn't it for me. Like, I didn't even think it was that spicy or not enough spice. The spice was there and it was okay. My thing was the plot. I just wasn't invested. I didn't love any single character. I didn't even like any character. And then the friend, she was annoying. I'm not gonna lie. What people have been saying about the friend is true. She was annoying. She did insert herself a little too much. And another thing that affected me was the audio, unfortunately. The male narrator, I don't know if the accent that they used is accurate. And if it is, I'm so sorry. But I think the character's Swedish, the guy. And I could not with that accent. I did not find it remotely, not even close to sexy. If anything, it was the complete opposite. It was not for me. And if that's an accurate accent and that's like your accent, I'm so sorry. I mean, no disrespect, but I just didn't find it sexy at all, and it very much took me out. Like, I could not take this guy seriously. So if I were to ever reread this, which I don't think I will, but if I ever did, it would not be on audio, because no, I just could not with that voice. And then the last book was First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, which this book is beloved by all. I feel like everybody's been giving this 5 stars. Everybody's been saying it's like one of their favorite reads of the year. I just didn't love it. Like, I didn't fall in love with it, the characters or the story. I do think it was good though. It's based on Sleepless in Seattle, which I've never watched, but I knew what it was about because it's such a popular, beloved movie. And it was a good story. I think that it was just a little too long of a book. I felt like they dragged it out a little bit, but it was good. I'm not gonna say it wasn't, because it was. I gave it 3.75 stars, and I didn't haul this one just because I didn't even remember I had pre-ordered it. But I feel like maybe I should have kept it. I don't know. Because the second book, I think that character, I might like his book more. I don't know. I feel conflicted about this one because I do think it was a good book. I just think it was a little too long and it just didn't fully like reel me in. But that's an unpopular opinion because everybody seems to love this book. Moving on to the 4 stars, which is what I have the most of. I have 11 4-star reads, so let's go through them quicker. So first up, Juniper Hill. This is book 2 in the Eden series. This is the only one, like, I only own the first 2, and then the rest I'm gonna have to read on Kindle Unlimited until I can buy the rest. But I really like this series. This was just romance though. The first one was like a romance mystery, which I liked more, but it was a good story. In this we have a single mom instead of a single dad, and then, you know, small town romance. And it was good. It was a good time. Nothing crazy, nothing like amazing, just a good time. Then something out of my comfort zone, The Wedding People. This is literary fiction or general fiction. I picked this up because it won the Goodreads award for just like general fiction, and I was curious, and it is pretty good, I've got to say. It says, a propulsive and uncommonly wise novel about one unexpected wedding guest and the surprising people who help her start anew. And that's very much what happens. We follow our main character Phoebe, who at the beginning of the book is just so disillusioned with her life. Life is just kicking her ass, man. Like, she just is going through it, and she ends up breaking up with her partner, or he breaks up with her. I can't remember. The point is that it's over and she's devastated, and she's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna take a vacation, because she's always wanted to go to this place in Rhode Island that's like absolutely beautiful, but it's super expensive. And her partner never wanted to go because he's like, are we really gonna spend the money just for that? And she was like, you know what, screw it. So she puts on a beautiful green gown and she goes. And when she gets there, she realizes that this venue pretty much was rented out to a wedding party, and she's the only one there that's not a part of the wedding people. But as soon as she gets there, she gets kind of roped into the wedding people, and she becomes just pretty much a part of the wedding. And she ends up having so many different conversations and interactions with these people, and it's very much the type of book that makes you think about just your life and how you're living it and how you're socializing with others. And I don't know, very introspective type of book. I really liked it. I thought it was a good book. I wouldn't say a fun time, but a good book. And it does touch on some deeper subject matters, so look it up. Look up your trigger warnings. I always forget to say that because like nothing triggers me, but I know that there are people that are sensitive out there to certain things, so look it up because there is something that's a little sensitive in there. Next up, I read 2 books in the same trilogy. We have The Ballad of Never After and A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber, books 2 and 3. This one, you're gonna see this in Friday's video, which is finishing series I'm in the middle of. I gave all these books 4 stars. I liked all 3 books equally. I know that's an unpopular opinion. A lot of people hated this one, but I really liked it. I thought it was fun. I don't understand the hate that this book got. But yeah, A Curse for True Love and The Ballad of Never After Once Upon a Broken Heart in general is a spin-off series for the Caraval trilogy. And in it, we follow one of the characters that we meet in the Caraval trilogy. It is very fairy tale-like. It is, you know, the storytelling aspect is really beautiful. She does have really beautiful writing. I don't know what to say. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but we follow Evangeline, who at the beginning of the first book, is trying to stop the wedding of her stepsister to the love of her life. And she ends up going to Jax, who is a fate, which is this magical being, for help. And she's like, stop this wedding. He does, but tragedy strikes. And from here, her story starts. She gets whisked off to a different kingdom, and she becomes just very much intertwined with this kingdom, and her life is never the same. She goes from being like this normal girl with just like a boring ass life to being around magic and mythical creatures, and just, it's really good. It really is. I don't want to spoil things for you, so that's all I'll say. Then another 4-star read for me, I think this is part of like Bookshelf Ultimatum or something, How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwang. This was a book that I picked up just because it was written by Yulin, who is gonna be the screenwriter to Emily Henry's People We Meet on Vacation, as well as the writer and director for Beach Read, because Emily's books are being turned into movies and she's going to be responsible for them. So I wanted to read the book, and it was really good, but it was a little more heavy than your typical little romance. It literally starts off with just this reveal, and you're like, whoa. Definitely look up trigger warnings again if you're sensitive to certain things. And you know what, I guess I could tell you this because she has an author's note warning you at the beginning. It says this story contains on the page discussions of complicated grief, suicide, loss, and the death of a sibling. So if that will trigger you, be hesitant, to be weary, because it is very much a part of the story. Like, it's not just mentioned and that's it. It is engraved, intertwined in the story in a beautiful way. I don't know. I really like this book. I thought it was really beautifully done. I did like the romance. I felt like there was definitely character growth, and I liked it. We follow Helen and Grant, and they are both in the film industry, I guess. Well, Helen is a writer, and her books are being turned into movies, and Grant is working on the movie. I think he's a screenwriter, so they have to work together. But these two know each other from their youth, and the way they parted ways was kind of crazy. So the fact that they're seeing each other again, like, I didn't know how they were gonna react, but I really enjoyed the read. 4 stars for that one. Another 4-star read, it was a reread for me, but it was my book club's pick for February, The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I've read all the Nightborn duet books, the first one, the second and conclusion, and then the novella in between. I ended up unhauling this one and The Ashes of the Star-Cursed King, not because I didn't love them, because I gave this 4 stars. I do really like it. I didn't really love that second book, so I decided to part ways with this because I've already reread it at this point, and I don't think I'll reread it again. And if I want to, it's on Kindle Unlimited. So yeah, also the reason I'm unhauling this is because these are the indie versions of the books. They're not traditionally published, but I have the indie version, so maybe a book collector will want these because I'm not going to appreciate them. So I did keep the novella though, because I love that novella. But in this, we follow Aurea, who is a human, and she is brought up in the vampire world. She gets adopted by the Nightborn King. So she's essentially a human princess, and she ends up entering this tournament to be able to get a wish granted by Nyaxia, which is the goddess of the vampires. And this tournament is insane. Like, it is very dangerous, especially as a human who is really going to be competing with a bunch of vampires. So very dangerous. But her adoptive dad, has been training her whole life since he adopted her as a child. So she feels she's prepared, but obviously things are rough. This is being compared to the Hunger Games. The tournament is kind of Hunger Games-esque, but I wouldn't say it's exactly the same. It is to the death, and there is like, there can only be one, so that is the same, but I liked it. I liked the trials in this. The trials were really fun, and I just felt like the romance was also cool. The way that it ends is really good. I couldn't enjoy this a ton this second go around because I knew it was coming. I knew that I didn't love that second book, but it is fun. And I do think that you should read it, especially if you like vampires and trials. It's a fun one for sure. Then moving up a little step to a 4.25 star rating, Vengeful by V. Schwab. This was such a surprise to me. I think it was Bookshelf Ultimatum number 6 that this was in. I had read Vicious. I liked Vicious. I didn't love it, but I feel like I did really like it. I don't know what, I don't think I rated it. It was before I was rating books, so I would have to reread it to see what the rating was. But I really did like it. I thought it was very interesting and unique. And I loved Victor in that book. And this one gets so much hate. People really didn't talk nicely about this one, but I thought it was really good. I give it 4.25 stars. I will say that the like villain in this, the like main villain, was stupid. Like, I did not love the villain, but there's a character helping the villain, and I found that character very interesting, and I cannot wait to read book 3, Victorious, when V. Schwab Victoria finally gives us this freaking book. I hope it's sooner rather than later. One of you told me that she said it was going to be 2026. Fingers crossed that it is, because this is really cool. In this, we follow Victor and Eli. Victor and Eli in Vicious in book 1. They're friends, best of friends, and they're working on a thesis for college, and Eli's thesis happens to be around the expiration of EOs, which was like extraordinary, I don't know, humans with powers, basically. I forgot what, I think it's just extraordinary, I don't know, humans with powers. And yeah, they end up cracking the code, figuring out how to give anybody a superpower, and they do it to themselves, and they become nemesis to each other. So it's just really interesting. It's like sci-fi, but it's just cool. It's just cool. And I love Victor. He is such a badass. So yeah, definitely everybody here is crap. Everybody here is very morally gray, very dark gray. And I love that about this book. Moving on to the 4.5 star rating books. First up, we have An Ember in the Ashes by Sabatier, which is book 1 in the Ember in the Ashes quartet. I feel like I'm going to end up unhauling this quartet. Not because I don't love it, because I gave this 4.5 stars, but I do want the new covers. I know that's an unpopular opinion. Like, a lot of people prefer these older covers, but I love the new covers and I want the new covers. So yeah, I do think that I'm going to end up unhauling these also. But this was so good. This is a YA fantasy quartet, completed quartet. And in this we follow Laia and Elias. The back says, Laia is a slave, Elias is a soldier, neither is free. And that is so true. This is so insanely good. And this is just book 1. But we have this world that I believe they said it was like inspired by Roman mythology, or like the Roman Empire, I should say, not mythology, the Roman Empire. And Laia gets herself caught up with the rebellion that's trying to overthrow this government, essentially. And Elias is a soldier in the government, but they end up coming together by the end of the book and have similar goals, but they're still different. It's very interesting because they're each living out a storyline within the book that is, I would say, parallel, and it really doesn't cross over until the end, which I think was just so unique. Such a good YA book. If you like YA stories, this is a good one. And there is a romance subplot, but heavy on the subplot. Like, it's such a subplot that I wouldn't even call it a romance, if I'm being honest, at least not at this point. So if you're one of those people that really doesn't want to do romance, this is the one for you, because it's really not there. Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. This was so good. I think this is clear the cart number 2 in there. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know I was gonna love this because it was cozy fantasy. We're just following an orc Viv as she opens up a coffee shop and just teaches the little townspeople what coffee is. It's so sweet. There's friendships. There's just the cutest characters ever, and that's really all that happens. It's not that serious. It's just a cute, cozy time. Like, you can just curl up on your couch with a blanket and a coffee by the fireplace. Like, that is the vibes that this gives, and I loved it so much. 4.5 stars. I can't wait to read the second book, and I heard there's gonna be a third book, so I will read them all. Then we have 2 other 4.5 star reads. This one I do own, the other one I don't. The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson. I don't think I should have rated this 4.5 stars. I think I got caught up in just having a good silly time. I feel like it's more of a 4-star rating for me, but 4.5 is what I gave it, and we're gonna stick with it. It says 2 wolf shifters agreed to be fake mates, but unexpectedly find something real in the steamy paranormal romantic comedy. All of that's true. All of that's true. It is about 2 shifters that do pretend to be fake mates, and it's pretty funny. It is such a rom-com-y book. I was laughing with them. I was laughing at them. Like, it was so ridiculous in the best way possible. Like, I had such a good time. It was just goofy, silly. Yes, it is, not a literary masterpiece, but it was such a good time, and I definitely recommend it if you just want a steamy book it's funny. Like, that's really what it was. So there's that one. And then the one that I don't own is Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young. That's a new release book that I read through Everend, because like I said, I wanted to read the books before I bought them, and I really, really like this one. It is book 2 following Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young, which I loved. I gave that 5 stars. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I didn't love it as much, but I felt like it was a lot more me. Like, the main couple are high school. No, I think they met in middle school. And they're married. They've been together since 14 years old, I think, which is crazy. But recently they're going through something within their marriage. And it's not even about the marriage. It's more so about themselves as people, as individuals who grew up and changed and morphed into different people. But the girl, Sarah, she kind of feels stuck. And she feels like she's a certain person with her partner, but she's somebody else within herself. And they explore themselves and their relationship, and it's really beautiful. I freaking loved it. Just like with Out on a Limb, it's beautifully done. 4.5 stars for that one. I will be buying it. I put it on my wish list so that I can buy it when there's a sale, because that's something that I would definitely reread, just like Out on a Limb. And then the 5 stars. We've made it to the 5 stars. So first up, let me rotate this cart to get to these back books easier. We have a reread Funny Story by Emily Henry. I finally got my paperback, and I reread this because the first time I read it, I feel like I didn't do it justice. So I really paid attention this time, and I gave it 5 stars because it was such a fun Emily Henry book. I feel like it's definitely like on the lighter side. I feel like her books to me are very meaningful, and like there's just like deeper subjects that are touched into it, whereas this one to me felt a lot lighter and like very more of an actual rom-com versus just, the tone that her books usually take. Like, for me, my favorite Emily Henry is Happy Place, but that's very personal to me. I just felt really deeply impacted emotionally. I know a lot of people beach read as that for them. I feel like this one, Book Lovers, is more along the lines of this, where it's like bantery and witty and like rom-com-y. But this one is like even more so. I loved it. Miles and Daphne are the cutest together. They are 2 people that are dating 2 other people, and those 2 people dump them and then they hook up. So their partners literally start dating each other. And so these two are left alone and sad. And Daphne ends up moving in with Miles. And yeah, they just kind of help each other through the heartbreak. And it's really sweet. I really like it. Next up, we have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This would have been in that new jar series of books that have been on my shelf forever that I thought I was going to hate, because I tried to read this a couple years back and I DNF'd it. I wasn't into it. I was bored. But I listened to the audiobook on Everend and damn, I was like following along. I always tried to do both, like immersive reading, and it was so good. It was such a good time. There was drama, and I really liked the story structure, the way that the book has news articles and also is told like by husbands. So we like follow, this one says goddamn Dawn Adler, and we get her story in chronological order, but by the husbands that she was married to at the time. And it's beautiful, it's heartbreaking, it's impactful. Like, I really liked it. It was a really good time. It was dramatic, which I really like dramatic stories I'm finding. So that one was a good one. 5 stars for all of these. Then the other 3 I don't own, but you better believe that I'm gonna buy 2 out of the 3. The reason I say 2 is because I read the Better Than the Movies extra stories. So these are available on the Simon & Schuster teen website, and I didn't even know they existed. I can't believe I didn't know, but I didn't. And I saw somebody posting about it on Goodreads, immediately went to read them. They were so good. I counted these as one book because together they were like 100 pages, and I would not have felt right to count them as 3 different books. I just counted the whole thing as one book. But 5 stars for the 3. They were so good. Like, I just love this world. I love these characters. Better Than the Movies is a 5-star read for me. I will reread this book forever and ever. I love it. And then book 2 was Nothing Like the Movies, which I really liked too. Not as much as Better Than the Movies, but I still really liked it. Then we have Betting on You, which this one had 4 different POVs. It was Bailey and Charlie and Wes and Liz. So from Betting on, what is it called? Oh, Better Than Before. The story is Better Than Before, and it has the characters from Betting on You and Better Than the Movies, because Charlie and Wes are cousins. Who would have known? I didn't know. They're cousins, and so that's kind of like how we get the crossover, and it was really cute. I really liked it. We get the 4 POVs, but it definitely focuses on Wes and Liz. And then the second one was Nothing Better Than You, and this was looking at Wes and Liz's first kiss, but from Wes's POV. So sweet. If you read Better Than the Movies, and you already know these next 2 books what's gonna happen, but now we're getting Wes's POV, which was so good because we all know that he's so freaking in love with her, and it was the sweetest thing. And then Better Than the Prom, again, following that prom scene, but from Wes's POV, which this one was so good because you know what happens when they went to the prom and who they went to the prom with, and you get to see like what happened. I don't know. I don't want to spoil things for you if you haven't read Better Than the Movies, but if you haven't read it, do yourself a favor, go read Better Than the Movies and then read these 3 because they're so good. So yeah, 5 stars for all those 3 little short stories, which, like I said, I just counted as one book. And I made the little book, I just put the 3 covers, but yeah, so good. And then the last book that I read in the month was Only in Your Dreams, which I had got an ARC of this. So I read the ebook ARC, and wow. As soon as I finished this book, I went and I bought it. I bought it off of someone from Pango because they were selling it, and I like to support other people on Pango because they're just people like you and me selling their books. So I bought it from Pango, and I cannot wait to get it. It was just so good. So in this, we follow, and keep in mind that reading is subjective. So if you hate this book, don't come for me, but I just had so much fun. I feel like it was definitely an incredibly spicy book. Like, I don't read super spicy stuff, but I guess the more that I read romance, I sometimes get spicy books like this that I didn't even know would be this spicy. But the spicy scenes to me were so good. Like, I was not cringing whatsoever. I was like into it. So I really like the spice in this book, which is not something that I usually say. Usually I just don't care. I'm trying to find my little, here it is. So in this, we follow Zach and Melody, who met in high school and became best friends because they have a little friend group. And Zach is Melody's brother's best friend. So Melody has a twin named Parker, and Parker and Zach are best friends, but they're all in the same little friend group, so they all spend all their time together. And Zach was always like in love with Melody, and Melody also really liked him, but they never really acted on it. There's this scene that happens at the beginning of the book where Zach kind of just leaves her hanging, and they go their separate ways. They each go to college, and they never have communication again until 10 years later. At the beginning of this book, we see that they are now back in each other's lives, and they end up stranded at a campsite all on their own, which sounds ridiculous, but it makes sense how it happened. Yeah, and so they're kind of forced to spend 3 days out on the woods, out on their own, with nobody else, no cell phone service and all that. And obviously they're at each other's throats because they have all this baggage that they're carrying. And yeah, they get rescued from that, and then our story starts. And it's so good. They're very bantery, they're very quippy, they show their affection through teasing each other. And it's also a football romance because Zach is a college football coach, and I really like that because I really like football. And Melody also really loved football because she grew up with Parker and Zach, which were star players on the football team. So she's very knowledgeable also about football. And yeah, it was just really good. I really loved their love story. I really love all the characters. I feel like I will definitely continue on to read the rest of the books. I think the next book gets released later this year, and it's following his best friend, which I loved his best friend, Brooks. I feel like, I hope she gives us books for every character because I love them all. I love all these characters, the side characters, the friend group characters. So good. 5 stars for this one. And then the very last book that I gave 5 stars to, The Favorites by Lane Fargo. Damn, this book was so freaking good. It was so good. It was so dramatic. It was just like everything that I want in a book. It very much gave me Magnolia Parks vibes. I see what people were saying. People were saying it was like Magnolia Parks, and Daisy, no, what's it called? I was gonna say Daisy Hates the Great Undoing, but no, it's Daisy Jones and the Six, because I haven't read Daisy Jones and the Six, but I'm feeling that it was because this book has interview style excerpts all along the book, and I feel like Daisy Jones also has that. So that's probably what they were talking about. But other than that, it very much gave me the drama of Magnolia Parks. There was so much freaking drama in this book. We followed 2 figure skaters who literally meet when they're 10 years old, and they start skating together and become partners, skating partners. And you follow their lives as they navigate just life in general. Toxic households, toxic families, no families, love, sex, drugs, career, like you name it, everything is in this book. Betrayal, heartbreak. It was so good. Like, I don't know what to say. It was so freaking good, and I really want this book, but they only released it in hardcover, and I really want the paperback. The UK has the paperback already, but I prefer the US cover. I just feel like the gold makes more sense than the colorful cover of the UK, because they're going for the gold. They want Olympic gold, so, you know, I guess I'm going to have to wait. I hope that it's going to be released in paperback, but it's definitely a book that I'll be buying because, damn, That was good. And with that, we wrap up the 22 books that I read. I know this video is probably long, but I really tried to go as fast as I could. It's just a lot of books. So I think that I'm going to be doing TikToks where I'm like breaking up, maybe doing like weekly updates, because I know that this is a lot of books that I've been reading. Here's to hoping that I continue reading as many books. I already started my March reads. I've read one book so far in the month, and yeah, I'm excited for my book club's book this month is Heavenly Bodies, and I think that's going to be really fun. So as always, thank you so much for hanging out. Give the video a thumbs up, it helps the channel out. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you Friday with a finishing series I'm in the middle of reading vlog. Bye.